If you look at your available networks on your Wi-Fi, so I'm talking about Wi-Fi here, and you see EE Wi-Fi and it's unsecured, or BT Wi-Fi, because it's the same company, BT, Easy Everything. They've recently changed. For residential areas, they'll be known as Easy Everything. And it's unsecured, and you're thinking it might be a hacker. It's probably not, because I think this is default for anyone near you who's using a BT or Easy Everything uh, router, so it's a public Wi-Fi hotspot basically, and or not hotspot, is that what you call them? But you can log into it if you've got I think if you've got an Easy Everything contract, you might be able to use it for free. I'm not sure, but everyone else you can buy vouchers online off Easy Everything. So it means if you're in a residential area and you've not got a router or whatever, or a mobile data connection, you can use something like this, and it's actually coming with this BT router that someone's got using in their own house, and they've not disabled this. I think they come from by default, these Easy Everything public hotspot things with a BT router, residential or anywhere. Well, it looks like they do actually, unless you turn it off. So they're switched on by default. Unless you turn it off, it'll be there round about your area. So I was looking at it from a hacker's perspective, like whether if they're overseas they could use it as a via Wi-Fi. I'm guessing they probably can. I don't know. Well, I don't know how would they connect to the Wi-Fi. I don't know. But I asked Croc a few questions and I'll show it later. But this is just to show you. First when I saw this, I thought this is definitely a hacker, and they're probably using that BT router, or it's the person themselves as a hacker. But actually, it's just default for BT routers or Easy Everything routers. It's the same company. They've got a public Wi-Fi option, and anyone can use it. And if I click on that, it'll connect me, and it'll say you need to use vouchers or something. Have you got vouchers to sign in? So I'm not happy about it, but what can you do, So, because first of all, when I've heard about this, I heard that EE do this, in very public areas like railway stations, town centres, and that, not residential areas. But then when I kept asking Grok questions, it turns out that every BT router for homes has got this on by default. So, yeah, you can't really tell if it's a hacker or not. But you've got to assume it's not one. You don't have to, but you can assume it's not. But it's not very good having a unsecured public Wi-Fi very close to your house, unless you want to use it yourself. Here's the questions I asked Grok. We'll ask a few more, but are there EE public Wi-Fi's in residential areas? Yeah, so it's just saying EE public Wi-Fi hotspots, previously known as BT Wi-Fi hotspots. So it may be called BT Wi-Fi still if it's person's using an old router, are primarily designed to provide wireless internet access in public locations, airports, hotels, cafes. However, their presence in residential areas depends on specific circumstances. EE Wi-Fi hotspots are created through partnerships or by leveraging the routers of EE and BT broadband customers. So that's most people really, who have not opted out of sharing their connection as a public hotspot. So just let you read that if you want to. So while EE public Wi-Fi can exist in residential areas, it's not a deliberate service tailored for them. It's more a byproduct of customer router settings and local broadband penetration. Could a hacker overseas use a public EE Wi-Fi to hack as if near via wireless? So that would be hacking via Wi-Fi. Yes, it's theoretically possible for a hacker overseas to use a public EE Wi-Fi hotspot to conduct hacking activities as if they were physically near the hotspot, but it would require public EE Wi-Fi hotspots, like those provided. But once connected, they assign a local IP address tied to the UK-based network infrastructure. Remote access via proxy or compromised device. The hacker could use a VPN proxy server or a compromised device to connect to the EE Wi-Fi hotspot. For instance, if they control a botnet with a UK-based device near an EE hotspot, they could route their traffic through. Alternatively, they could trick someone physically near the hotspot into installing malware or a remote access tool, allowing the hacker to piggyback on that connection. Spoofing the location. So, exploiting wireless vulnerabilities. So that's if it had a weak security. Modern public Wi-Fi systems often use WPA2 or WPA3 encryption and isolate users, reducing the risk of direct wireless hacking between users. So I'm just letting you read this if you want to. So could it happen in a residential area? Yes, especially since many EE hotspots in residential areas come from broadband routers with shared public access. EE Wi-Fi access. These are less monitored than commercial hotspots and may be easier targets for exploitation, assuming the hacker can connect remotely. However, the hacker wouldn't be hacking via wireless in the traditional sense, unless they had a local presence. They'd be using the hotspot as an entry point into the broader internet. Do all BT residential routers have EE public Wi-Fi, and this is on by default? Not all BT residential routers have EE public Wi-Fi capability, but most modern ones do. So that's important, but most modern ones do. And it's typically enabled by default, so there you go, unless you opt out or use a third-party router. Here's a breakdown. Same company, BTE. The feature known as EE Wi-Fi, previously BT Wi-Fi or BT Open Zone, allows BT broadband customers to share a portion of their connection as a public hotspot, which other BT or EE customers can access when in range. So that means if you're a BT or EE customer, you can use any of these without paying. Does it? Do all BT residential routers have it? Modern BT routers do. BT Smart Hub 2, earlier models like the Home Hub 5 support this public Wi-Fi feature. Older ones might not support it, but probably do, really, especially if they get an upgrade. Oh, if you're on BT Business, I don't think they type have them. Or usually they don't. Well, I don't know, actually. No. So is it on by default? Yes, usually. This has been standard practice for years under the BT Wi-Fi scheme. Opting out, you can disable it via the BT Hub Manager. Context and evolution. So BT and EE merged under the BT group, but they call their residential stuff EE now, Easy Everything. I think it's a terrible name, but I suppose you can check your router and all that. Here's another question asked. Is EE Wi-Fi usually unsecured? So that means that you don't need a password except when you get to the it's not itself, it's not password locked. The router isn't, but the page is when you get there. EE Wi-Fi as provided by EE, Easy Everything, isn't inherently usually unsecured, but the security depends. Well, let's see. Home EE Wi-Fi broadband. So that's talking about the person's personal use for a router. That is secured. But if you want to use that EE Wi-Fi, but anyone can use that apparently. It's called a public EE Wi-Fi hotspot basically, and any BT router or EE router has it, probably on by default. Yeah, once connected you're usually prompted to log in via a captive portal, a web page requiring credentials. There's also EE Wi-Fi X, a variant intended for auto connection by devices with stored EE credentials, which is more secure than the open EE Wi-Fi because it uses encryption and doesn't require manual login. Still, public Wi-Fi, secured or not, carries risks like potential man-in-the-middle attacks if someone sets up a fake hotspot or intercepts traffic on an open network. How can I stop my device using public EE Wi-Fi? Yeah, I would, so nobody can use it. Well, forget an hour, we all do that anyway. Disable auto join. I mean, to me, it would be better if these things you could turn the signal down, so the signal doesn't broadcast as far. There are some routers that used to do that, I don't know if any still do. But really you want your signal only to go as far as your own house, really. You don't want it to go anywhere else. And personally, I would prefer if you had the line of sight option as well, and you could just, the only way you could join it is via QR code, um, physical QR code. So this is just things I looked at. First I thought it might be a hacker thing, but I don't think it is now. So there you go. If you see an EE Wi-Fi or an EE Wi-Fi X in your Wi-Fi connections, it's probably someone nearby using a BT router or an EE router, and they've not switched off the public EE Wi-Fi bit, that anyone can use. Anyone can use it, especially if they've got a Easy Everything contract, because you can use it for free. Everyone else, you need to buy a voucher when you go to the page. You just connect and then buy a voucher if you want. But is it a security risk? Do the pluses outdo the minuses? Personally, I think they do. I don't think residential ones should have it. But then if you didn't have a connection, it would be pretty good, wouldn't it? But remember on Wi-Fi X, stuff is encrypted, whereas on the other one, it isn't encrypted. So you would need to use a VPN if you were wanting encrypted stuff on that. You should always use a VPN on public Wi-Fi's anyway. You shouldn't use public Wi-Fi's. Nowadays, in my opinion, you should just use your mobile data. I mean, Smart is like £16 a month for unlimited, or you can usually get a deal for even cheaper, like £14 a month or whatever, Okay, that's all for now. Bye bye.